guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. You know what time it is. It's Wong Kar-wai time, and it's Ashes of Time time. So this is not part of the Criterion Collection World of Wong Kar-wai box set. This is Ashes of Time Redux, and what I'm here today is to talk to you about why this exists, because after I posted a little bit about the Wong Kar-wai box set and the fact that this film was not in there, and there was a lot of discussion about people who really loved this movie and they were bummed that it was not in there, I rewatched this movie. And in rewatching this film, I watched a 40-minute long, essentially Q&A with Wong Kar-wai about why the Redux version exists. There's a lot of theories out there, if you read online, of fans and film scholars and stuff like that who are like, why did he make this version? And so if you're unfamiliar, there's a fair number of changes to the Redux. I think the color grading was changed a little bit, and it was re-edited, and it was in the original version, you don't have the chapter section. So in this version, you have chapter sections built around, I believe, the Chinese zodiac. And they're clearly delineated with title cards on the screen. And Wong Kar-wai actually said the main reason he did that was that he thought that people would just understand that that was the structure of the film when it first came out, because he thought it was obvious, but it obviously wasn't, because no one had any idea what was going on. So he made that more deliberate in this version, and they rescored some of the music, right? Now, everyone has their reasons for why they think this version exists. What I'm going to do is basically just tell you what I learned watching this interview with Wong Kar-wai about what he says as to why it exists. Whether or not that's true is really up to you if you choose to believe him. So basically, in 1998, there was an Asian financial crisis.
In the year 1998, the Asian financial crisis hit Hong Kong. And the lab where we store our negative went bankruptcy overnight. It's just like Lehman Brothers a few weeks ago. So we get a call from the staff inside, and they said, well, you have to pick up all your stuff tonight before the receiver is going to take over the place tomorrow. So we rushed to the lab and to retrieve as much material as we can. And then we realized actually the materials are not in very good shape. Some of them actually were in pieces.
And the lab that was storing the negatives for Ashes of Time went bankrupt. And they called Wong Kar-wai or his people or whatever, and they're like, you got to come and get your film because we're closing down and we're being repossessed or whatever, and it's going to be gone. So they went in and they got it, and they found that it had been stored really badly and that parts of it were completely gone and falling apart and all this stuff, right? And so they decided that the only way to save the film was to reconstruct it so that they had a new negative that they could create prints from, because otherwise it would only exist as whatever DVDs, VCDs, VHS had been released and whatever pirated copies existed that had been copied from those, right? And so they contacted distributors in Japan and in Taiwan and in the United States, and they actually, and to try to get film prints. So they collected basically all the film prints that they could about this movie.
So then we decided to retrieve material from like our overseas distributors, from France and also from like Taiwan, Japan, and we even go as far as to the Chinatown cinemas in the United States. But it's strange because in the last 10 years, a lot of the cinemas went like just closed down. Like 2-3 cinemas in New York Chinatown is gone already.
And then there's this really amazing section of the interview where Wong Kar-wai said they contacted Chinatown theaters in the States, and they went to San Francisco, and there was a warehouse that was run by this Chinese movie theater that had been in the family for a couple generations, where they just had prints of movies everywhere. And he describes it as being like Raiders of the Lost Ark or something like that, where they go in that, that huge warehouse and there's all those, yeah. And there was just film, like 35 millimeter prints of Hong Kong films everywhere. It was like a Hong Kong film museum almost. And they found a fair amount of materials there too. But ultimately what happened was some of the audio was irretrievably lost. So one of the reasons the score was redone, obviously you could make the argument that, like, well, if you still have the master tapes of the score, you could just add the score back onto the film. Although the film had to be re-edited, so scenes were changed. One of the reasons the film was re-edited was that some footage was lost. And other reason that the film was re-edited and some of the sound was redone, according to Wong Kar-wai, is that there were sections of voiceover and dialogue from Leslie Chung that were lost. And Leslie Chung had passed away at that point. And he basically says we wouldn't allow someone to become his voice and to ADR him, to voice over him in, basically. As out of respect to him, we couldn't do that. And so and because he's such a unique character and actor and persona, and it just wouldn't work to have someone else come in and become him, right? He's so intrinsic to that part of the story, and his personality is so much a part of it that would just be wrong to do, basically, and it wouldn't work. So they had to get rid of some of the voiceover and some of the dialogue and replace that with alternate audio, so there was new music that was recorded and fit to the new kind of rhythms of the editing and stuff like that. So that's basically why this version exists, according to Wong Kar-wai. And it's funny because he says in the interview that he thinks that going back and changing existing films is like opening Pandora's box. And if you've seen the World of Wong Kar-wai box set here, there have been some changes, aspect ratio changes, and a little bit of color grading change and stuff like that. So anyway, drop your thoughts in the comments if you feel so inclined. My name is Will, Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Ashes of Time Redux is the topic of our conversation today. I thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.